Skills is a pretty interesting piece of data because it's one of the few pieces of data that are both people data and business data at the same time, right? Most of our business data about customers and products, right? It doesn't really overlap with our people data, but skills is a super interesting piece of data because it not only at an individual level, it's people data. It tells us about something our people can do and that our people are developing, but at an aggregate level, it tells us something about our business capability and what our business can do and what our business can act on.
I think the other key pieces here to make this function is not only the foundational piece, is the governance piece, but it's also about the quality of data, right? In regards to how you're seeing skills, right? Where was that aspect of where was that information put in that you're sort of extracting and translating it into skills? And that's really important too. You want to make sure you have a component surrounding what's the quality so that the directionally, how much can you have confidence within the construct of what you are seeing and what your business questions you're trying to answer to? What are the probabilities surrounding what decisions you need to make with that? With my clients, is sort of saying, yeah, but how do I rationalize all this information and how accurate is it as well, right? So
how do we keep the governance small and tight? Because my experience at Frederick Data Care is if we set up a big governance structure, the people just stop showing up because the committees are too big. And if you don't have defined decisions for people to make and keep it really tight, then it becomes just everybody's opinion. So, just really not only starting small with a core, a few things, especially in the areas where we've got the most questions to answer, but then also how do we keep the governance of this tight and small enough to make great decisions and move it forward, but then also have the right advisory groups to ensure we're being inclusive and we're not missing something from the people who really do the work.
I wanted to piggyback off your comment around having tight governance. I do recall, and I wanted to stress the importance of making sure that there are not only is there a governance structure, but that it is very clear, right, as to what the roles and responsibilities are, number one, of the different people involved in that structure, what they are responsible for in terms of the, care, if you will, nurture and feeding of that whole taxonomy. And then number two is just involvement from the business, right? A lot of that ownership needed to involve the business. It is the only way we could ensure the relevance, the continued relevance, if I may say, right, of the taxonomy.
So we had initially looked at 3 different roles in the organization, all in the manufacturing field. So we thought that was small. And then as we got into the assessment process, we learned that our opportunity was with one of the roles that we had identified we needed to, assess skills on. So we picked one skill to assess, gave them options to do 2 or 3 more. And then what we realized was, we have an opportunity with this one particular role. And I think that's what we're starting to do is kind of scale down our work to something that's more manageable and it's easier for the managers to adopt to and you start to see the value in the process.
I 100% agree with starting small and starting with the business case. That's where it started with us, was primarily looking at a role where we had high turnover and saying where are the other roles in the organization that have adjacent skills that actually could potentially move into that role quite easily. So that use case, because of the cost for the business of the role turnover, became a good solid use case to start with. So I just wanted to share that as an opportunity. And, it's going to be a fun adventure from a learning perspective to continue this forward.